Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's LeVar Love, your local realtor and local real estate developer. And I'm here to talk to you about the real on real estate. So I just wrote this blog that's about how you negotiate with contractors. So if you're out here and you want to be this big major developer, you want to be a major house flipper, the reality of it is you got to spend a lot of time working with the trade. So you got to spend a lot of time working with contractors, working with GCs, working with plumbers, electricians, so forth and so on. And with that being said, you have to know how to talk the lingo. You got to talk the language. You got to know how to negotiate with these guys. It's a different world working with the trades. I promise you. I have learned a lot over the last 5-6 years, just working hand in hand with them. And here's the reality of it. I just want to keep it straight. I want to give you the information. But before I do, click like, subscribe. I know that you're the next big developer, the next great realtor. Now, let's get to it. Here's the reality of it. I've got 6 things you have to work on when you're negotiating with the contractor, when you're negotiating with the trade. So the 6 things are, first one, prepare a detailed plan. Now, I always have a detailed scope of work, an overall project scope of work, as well as specific trade scope of work. So there'll be a specific scope of work, which will entail line item things that need to be done by that trade person, whether it's the electrician, whether it's the plumber, whether it's the HVAC, whether it's the carpenter, whatever it is. I'll have a detailed scope of work for them, and then I'll have a detailed scope of work for the entire project. Also included in this detailed scope of work will be a timeline, right? Hey, when are you doing that plumbing work? Is it week 5? Is it week 7? When are you doing the electrical work? Is it week 8? Come on, you have to have these things detailed out. Now look, I'm gonna be honest with you. It don't always go as planned. It get a little crazy when you're doing these projects. But you have to start out with a detailed scope of work with a project timeline, all right? Trust me on this. Second, the best, most efficient time you can spend before the project start is getting estimates. And I always recommend getting 3 estimates. 3, you hear me? 1, 2, 3. Now, that's hard, especially in the summertime. It's like you might have to call 20 people to get 3 estimates in May, June, July. I'm just keeping it real. I'm here to give you the real on real estate. This game ain't easy. If it was easy, everybody be doing it, but they're not. So you have to get multiple estimates. And here's the reality of it. One of them is going to be really high. And then 9 times out of 10, 2 of them are going to be within plus or minus 10% of each other. And then you figure out, okay, these 2 might be closer to what it is, especially if you go back and look at your scope of work, your budget, and it's plus or minus 10% of your budget and your scope of work. Or it could go the other way. You have one that's super low, and then you have another 2 that are pretty close, plus or minus 10%, and pretty close to what you might have budgeted. Trust me, that one that's super low, go back and ask a lot of questions. Something's not right. I know a lot of people that have kind of been scammed. A person will give them a low bid, and then they'll come back later and have all of these change orders on them. Get the estimates. It's important. It will take up time. It is not easy, but you need to get these estimates. You have to know what you're dealing with. I'm on number 3, reference checks. And what does a reference check look like when you're talking about the trades? Here it is. I'm just going to be honest with you. What I usually try to do is find out a project that they're working on now. And this is if I haven't worked with the person before. A project that they're working on now. Like, hey, where are you at? What's going on? We need to sign this contract, or we need to work through kind of the details of when you're going to start, timeline. Or, hey, I want to drop off this scope of work to you. Where are you at? And then you go by that project. Take a look, see if it looks clean, see if they're doing good work, see if they are doing the work that they say that they can do. That is how I do my reference checks. Now, there'll be some people that'll give you numbers and things like that, just like the normal situation. If you get that, by all means, follow up. All right. Now, I'll give you your top secret tips. If it's a trade, maybe go by the supply house, whether it's the electrical, HVAC, plumbing supply house, where they shop at, and ask the people there. See if they pay their bill. See if their stuff is current. See how often they're there. Ask these questions. The people that work there, they'll tell you, like, oh no, that guy, that woman, they never paid. Their bill is always behind. Things like that. That's an issue. But make sure you do your due diligence. Doing these reference checks is very important. Number 4, cost-effective materials. Hey, this is actually a great transition, great segue, because it's at those supply houses or with the trades commercial accounts. Guess what? They get deep discounts. They get percentage off based on the volume that they buy. So you need to talk to them about, are they buying materials? Are you going to have them buy materials? Are you going to buy the materials? And if so, are you going to leverage the discount that they get? Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. Everybody's time is money. So, expect to pay a little bit of markup. They're going to get the materials for you, but maybe not retail because they're getting a deeper discount because of the volume that they buy materials at. So that's something that you really need to work out and negotiate, right? That's something you need to negotiate. Cost of materials, very important. 5, this one's critical. This one is critical. And let me tell you why. Here's the reality of it. I know several people, especially first-time flippers, first-time rehabbers, that have really been taken advantage of. This information right here is worth the price of admission. Here's the reality of it. A contractor will see how much they can get from you up front. They're just going to ask, oh, I need 70% up front. They'll ask for 100 or at least 50% up front at the signing of contract. And I'm just going to be honest, I do not give 50% deposits at the signing of contract. Not unless I've worked with the person in the past and I know them, trust them, so forth and so on. It's just not needed. It's just not, right? So typically it's a 25% deposit on the contract. And I try to get it as close to the day that the project is going to start as possible. Now, sometimes, when you're working through and you got a long timeline, it's major rehab, that's just not possible, especially when you want to book people for certain time frames. But the reality of it is, when you're signing that contract, I'm not giving them 50% up front. Not going to happen. Unless it's somebody I've worked with continuously, that we've done several projects together. They might be working on multiple projects for me. So if it's a situation where they're working on 2 or 3 projects for me, and I know, all right, I'm going to give them 50% on this, but they're going to start this project and maybe even the next project. They've done a little bit of work on the next project that we haven't even given them a deposit for. So there are things that you kind of work through and have to negotiate out. But the reality of it is, have a detailed payment timeline. Detailed. For example, hey, a certain amount of money gets paid after rough is completed. Last but not least, and probably one of the most important pieces, is communication. Communicating about the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why. It's critical. Communication is critical, especially at the beginning of a project. You want to over-communicate to make sure that you have things written down. You have things in the contract. You've talked about it over and over again. You've done the walk at the property. Communication is key. Over-communicate at the beginning of a project. Make sure that everybody is aligned, because here's the reality of it. You're going to get through 25% of it, and you're still going to be like, oh, I said this. And we're like, no, this isn't what you said. This is what you said. That's why you want to have that scope of work that's connected to the contract, that says exactly what needs to be done. That communication is critical. All right. That's 6 important pieces that you need to focus on when negotiating with a contract. And I'm LeVar Love, your local developer and realtor, and that's giving you the real on real estate.